just for local time. And the meeting has begun. So, hello and welcome to the koha-US Systems Administration SIG Special Interest Group, in which we talk about things that live in the administration module of Koha, including like circ rules and system preferences and stuff. And then we also talk about reports, because why not? And really, we also then talk about whatever else is tangentially related to administration, because that's everything. And I don't know, there's always something to talk about. We have no set agenda. We just sort of show up and I ask, what do you want to talk about? And if you don't want to talk about anything, we go home. That's how this meeting works. Hello and welcome. I'm Andrew. I work at Bywater. I used to work at libraries. And that's how the meeting starts. We did it. I have one announcement before we move forward. This meeting, as it is currently scheduled, is right this very moment conflicting with the Aspen Community Developers meeting. And I would like to go to that Aspen Community Developers meeting in future months. So I would like to move this meeting 1 hour later. I will send out an email to the list and give people a chance to say, oh my gosh, no. But I've also been asking if anyone wants to take over running this meeting. So if the time can't change, then somebody else could run the meeting at this time, which I guess is my leverage to get you all to allow me to move it an hour later. So I don't know if anyone right now knows that that would be a huge problem for them or for koha-US in a way I'm not aware of, by all means, please tell me. But that's probably a schedule change for next month. But beyond that, I don't need to hold the floor anymore. Hey, what's going on? What's cool or maddening or mystifying in your koha these days?
I don't mind hopping in here first. I will reiterate a request I sent to the group. I'm going to be experiencing my first upgrade since migration to 2411. Excited about that. And I was wondering if anyone had a checklist of stuff you run through in your test server before that goes live. I didn't get a response, so I've started to compile my own list. And I did find something. I was proud of myself. It was already filed as a bug by someone else, but I did find something that would have been detrimental to us, so that was good. So yeah, if anyone has a place where I could start instead of me starting from scratch, or when I'm done, I'd be happy to share that with other folks who might want something similar.
Yeah, I can't say as I've ever seen that document. I've seen various people's messy, scrappy like notes, and it would be a great document to have in existence.
We have something that we're creating for that very purpose. It's not very pretty yet, but it's something that maybe we could share as a starting point for you to do what you want with it also.
Yeah, I'd love
But
to take a look at that.
Okay, yeah, I just have to find it because everything's everywhere.
I hear you. Thank you.
Honestly, I usually just go through all the listed updates with the release notes and just go through each one of those and say, hey, did it work? Hey, do I need to do anything? Did this affect anybody? I usually tell the rest of the library staff, hey, by the way, this is coming. But then test it out basically one by one, at least anything that applies to us.
I mimic what Angela said, but I also go through every system preference that is added or deleted to make sure it's not something you need to turn on or turn off or make a decision about. Usually the default's off, but sometimes things get turned on or moved. And then we just make sure, like I have a to-do list. So I have like what's coming, and then I have my to-do list for the day that it launches on production. So we have like a 4-hour lead up to anyone actually touching the system so we can make all those system preferences, and acquisitions could test like EDI ordering and that kind of stuff. So.
All right, great. That's all extremely helpful. Thank you.
What else, y'all? Could pick on Rebecca as an early adopter. What's fun and exciting in 2411?
Apologies, you caught me with my mouth full. Um,
I'm sorry.
that's okay. I am, well, our acquisition people are very excited about the new automatic ordering. They are very excited about that, and we want to test it, but our test server, we don't have a way to test ordering, which is always a problem for us. So they're very excited about the possibilities. Me personally, I'm very excited about claims return, being it's like a sub status of a lost. It's not exactly the way I wanted it. I was hoping it would look. I was hoping it would be like its own complete separate field, completely broken from lost, but I'll take it. It's a nice step. But yeah, I've been we're on 2411 on test. And so we've been running through a lot of that, and Andrew and I have been working on lots of bugs.
I like
Not lots of
yesterday
like
when you-
critical bugs.
Yesterday, Rebecca found a bug that we'd fixed on accident, and that was fun.
That was fun. I was very
Upgrades.
happy.
They do tend to go the other way.
I was like, wait a minute, did you actually fix this? Because it's been since like 2021 that bug's been around, and it's just it would be a really nice to have kind of bug. So now when you check out an item to your statistics user, if you use the cart function at all, it will now update it to your cart label for the time. So a very small minor bug, but it's very nice to have, and our staff will be very excited to see it. So but yeah, I've just been running through 2411. I'm sorry, Alex, I don't have a script for you. I just kind of run through every module and then think about, like, I have the general things like, you know, check out a book, check in a book, put something transferred, you know, but it's more like running through every single button and just being like, can I do every single button? And then I also, you know, test holds. We have 3 levels of holds. We're one of the item grouping using koha systems. So that's always something I spend extra time looking at, because not everyone has it. And it's one of those things that's still being kind of, I feel like it's still kind of being figured out a little bit.
That's a fair
We're on item groups too, so I'll be testing that. And we also have, you know, specific item types that are local holds only. So I've been testing all that stuff. All that stuff's going into my testing doc.
Yeah, I would say overall, like the basic stuff generally works. And if that didn't work, the 2411 or the whatever version we're on, like the pre-adopters, the very brave souls that try it first, that would be fixed automatically. Like they wouldn't have released it if you can't do the bare minimum. It's like these weird combinations of things, or you know, like odd behaviors. Like I have one right now that I have to write up, and I'm like, I'm not even sure how to describe this. It's like a transfer with a hold that's been canceled, that's been discharged or checked in, and yeah, it's a mess. I'm like, how do I put this into English? So I'm also learning how to like send videos with my tickets.
Nice.
That's been super helpful. It's not something I've ever done before, so I had a colleague teach me how to do it, and it's been. I actually got a comment on my ticket this week, Andrew, from Todd, and he's like, "I love your screenshots and your videos. This is great." So, but I am excited about 2411.
How are you doing the video?
ODS.
Okay.
That's the program that I use, and then it's just a screen capture. So it's actually a gaming video software. Apparently, you can use it to like stream your service on Twitch and things like that. But I was just using it for screen capture. I don't know. Does anyone else use something different for screen captures?
I send videos to like, frontline staff all the time about how to do something like, oh, how do I add an item to an item group? Windows 10 and 11 has a built-in screen recorder. If you hit the Windows key and G, it brings up the Xbox like game bar. It's supposed to be for streaming, but you can just record any browser tab, and it goes right into your captures folder. Super handy.
I just use Zoom. I'm in Zoom all the time anyway. It's a stupid answer, but it works.
Do you have to have a license for that, Andrew? Like,
No, to just record. Yeah, you could just go into a meeting by yourself and say, record this meeting and share your screen. And
huh, cool.
I mean, it doesn't give you any editing at all.
The built-in snipping tool in Windows 11 also has a video option, so like that's already there. So I'll use that.
I use a browser extension called Awesome Screen Capture, and it has editing possibilities, and you can do both video and still clips. And what I really like is it'll give a delay. So if I want to get maybe a button that I have to hover over to open, it'll give you a 3-second delay before it takes the screen capture so that you have time to do that.
Andrew, just a comment for Bywater. I was on a different vendor site this week reporting a problem, and they have in their ticketing system, take a screenshot button that automatically attaches it to your ticket. Just saying. I don't know what they're using though.
I'm sure our new ticketing software, when implemented, will solve that problem along with every other problem we've ever had in our lives. And we'll just see it. It'll be great.
Yes.
And is that actually going to be seen at some point?
Yeah, for
I
sure.
feel like we've been hearing about it forever.
It grows ever closer, but I don't know. Try not to think about it too hard. Rebecca, I liked your point that like the more local your stuff is, the more it needs to be tested. Alex, if you haven't upgraded in a long time, I don't know when was the last time you went through your intranet user JS and like reminded yourself how many weird little buttons you've made or like pages you've changed. That's always good stuff to be aware of.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was just looking at that this morning because I know there's that new system preference about always opening checkouts on the patron page, and we had a snippet to do that automatically. So that's one of the things I have to do on the day.
And it's so easy to have, like, I was just looking at a ticket this morning where years ago, some partner had created a button where there was not a button, and then it broke and nobody could remember where the button came from. Like, and it was JavaScript and it was easy to fix, but you had to find it.
Also to mention, and this was up on Slack somewhere, somebody was having problems with Bootstrap 5 in 2411. So I don't know if how that impacts or where that impacts. That's not my area of expertise, but just to put that out there, if anybody's using Bootstrap for stuff, it's switching.
My rough understanding of how this all works is that the pages in Koha are generally built using Bootstrap, and we have upgraded the version of Bootstrap on which they're all built, which in theory was done in a organized and good way and didn't break anything. But you know, it was an upgrade within an upgrade, so
I think George and they're terrific every other Tuesday. The last one talked a little bit about it. I think I kind of followed along. They do way more in jQuery than I do though, so that's a good resource. I'm sorry, I was a little late. Can you guys let me know what exactly topic we're talking about?
I was asking, this is going to be my first upgrade I'm going through since migration. So I was asking if anyone had a checklist of what they kind of work through on their test server before the update goes live.
Oh yeah, that's what I was wondering too, because we have a test server, but I never really know what to test.
Yeah, we're figuring that out too. One thing that I have on my list for this go round is any kind of printing, like spine labels, hold slips. If you can do that in your test instance, it's good to do.
Juliet, what I usually use my test server for is anything that is coming that we want to try. So the 2411 release notes have like different system preferences or bugs that have been fixed. So I go through and make sure that the bugs are fixed and then they work the way that we we would want to see them work, so if there's any changes we need to make on our end to make them more palatable to staff or whatever it is. And then each system preference I go through and I either turn it off or turn it on. And that's the great thing about the test server is you can turn it on and then go run amok and then come back and you haven't, done anything dangerous to anything. And then I just keep a running list of things I need to turn off or on the day of, or after we're upgraded. Like usually we have a lead-in period of like 4 hours and I just sit there and like turn this off, turn that on, or put in a ticket to Bywater to fix a data field or migrate something for us at post upgrade. So, but it's test servers are really helpful for like just blowing up your system and trying a whole bunch of things that you want to see how it works without any consequences.
Jason put in the chat the Bywater testing plan pages that I had forgotten about. They are very much a list of like module by module, all of the actions you might want to take. Like the circulation test plan is check out a book to an adult, check out a book to a kid. And in that sense, they're a little basic, but at the same time, like if what you're looking for is, I want to just make sure all this stuff works, they're a nice guide for sort of making your brain remember what all the stuff means. Or for plopping a clerk down in front of and saying, do all these things, make sure you can do them, please. Because yeah, I do think you have to kind of come at it from both ways. Both the let me look at what Koha knows it changed, and also let me find the things that Koha doesn't know it changed. Overall, it sounds like several of you have little scraps of notes. And Alex sent an email asking for things. So if you all put your scraps of notes in the email, they would at least all be in one place. And then maybe someone will find themselves very bored and unengaged and compile them all.
Just might make something nice out of it if you send me your scraps.
Okay, other like upgrade testing thoughts or other issues entirely?
Well, I've just been noticing in test poking around, I was trying to turn off columns in the hold queue to get, because you know how there's like you can split out bibliographic information. And I don't think you can do it. So I opened a bug in the community, like you can check hide by default, but it's not going to hide them. So I opened a bug for that. I will post that in the chat.
That doesn't sound good. No, Kristi, that seems like a pretty straightforward bug. Like the column configuration should work. Hopefully that means it is straightforward to fix.
Also, I've noticed in our test instance, there's I don't know if anyone else is using bookings, but there's a bookings to collect report. And every time you try and access it, it will eventually work. But when you try and load it, there's a something went wrong when loading the table 200 OK error. And I don't know if that's a Bywater ticket or a Bugzilla report.
I would start with a ticket because I have a vague memory of having seen a bug about that somewhere.
Okay.
I know that the test server kind of just sits there. It doesn't get updated and stuff. Is that something that should be done before we are testing out new stuff? Because I think that mine just still has all of the settings that I had in my system way back, a year ago. And I may have made a whole bunch of circulation rules changes and things like that.
That was something we actually just asked last time we met with our Bywater rep, if we could schedule a regular update just to say, hey, copy everything in prod and throw it in dev every 3 months, every 6 months, every however long. Just so that, yeah, everything's up to date. It sounds like it's something they'll have to schedule, but it also sounds like it's something that they're already talking about making a regular thing for everybody. So it's on their to-do list. It's on their discussion list. It just hasn't been implemented yet.
Okay, because yeah, I've put in tickets and asked for that, and then they just kind of sit there. So I wasn't sure if it was like not super important or.
Yeah, I think our last one took like 3 or 4 months. So yeah.
That is super not my department, but as I understand it, that is possible and doable, and hopefully the additional staff they have added in that department will help those things start moving quickly soon. But yeah, that does seem like worthwhile to have your test site keeping up with your live site more.
Yeah, at least a little bit closer than a year old.
I think ours is about like 6 months behind right now. But we do, like, every time we want the data recut, we do open a ticket to ask that specifically. It's also good to like save anything that you have in your intranet user JS preferences in there, because like, or if you have like users that you only had in your test instance, like, because when they recut that data, all that's gonna get wiped out.
I always have to remember to test with older books or movies because a lot of times I'll grab something and it was added after the instance. And like, oh yeah, that's why.
I always panic when I look at like my own account in there and I see that everything is 4 months overdue and I owe $80. I don't do these things. But then I remember it's because it's all everything I had checked out 6 months ago.
That was a thing I learned to be prepared for when I was training new libraries, because we would always train them on a snapshot of their data from several months ago, and inevitably we would hit circulation and all the librarians would pull up their own accounts and see that their own accounts were full of fines, and then they would get worked up. Which I understand it was like, no, it's fine, it's fine. They're pretend fines. Don't worry about it. You're not in trouble. Okay, party people, what other questions do you have? Anybody doing fun reports things? No, no fun.
Just have a general comment that this year I'm hoping to get better at using that union all command and report, because right now every time I try and use it, I break the report. But it's on my list.
Do you have specific types of usage of that you have struggled with that you would like to talk about? Or is that a more general, like, you're going to think about that on your own?
So it's kind of more like the specific one for me is like, I'm looking at a, how many times was like something added, like a particular item type added, and then I'm like, well, but if during that time period it was added and then deleted, it was still added. But, and so I'm like, I'll just try and union it to deleted items or bibs table,
Sure.
and then it blows up in my face every time. So I'm still fine tuning that.
My big like blanket advice there would be to generally like, here, let me pull up a visual aid rather than telling you about SQL, because that's not fun. Share my screen. And go to a report. So yeah, like generally you're starting from, I want all the items and all the deleted items.
Yes.
And like you could say where, let me put in aliases to make my own life easier. So like you could do that in both places, and that does kind of like have the potential to get a little weird on you, but it should always be pretty safe to instead say, here, just take that whole thing and wrap it in parentheses and call it something else. So then that is just one great big table. And I can say where all items dot date accessioned. So then I've like just kind of built my union in as far upstream as it can go to like really make it unambiguous. Instead of thinking about these two separate tables and then bringing the results together later, it's just like take those two whole tables and bring them all together up front. It's, I think probably, I haven't seen, this is one of those SQL like resource usage things that I've never landed on a square answer about. It doesn't seem to make that much difference in how much like resource it takes. I could run this, but it's not going to find me anything because I said give me things made in the future. But that's my general advice. Just put the union in a parentheses as like deep into the from as you can.
Okay. And those are parentheses, not curly braces.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Give that a shot.
I have a report I'd like to share with the group just because I didn't create this. I needed help because I can't math very well in SQL. But I thought it was really, really cool. So let me share my screen with you. So this is a report that shows for a collection. Can you see my screen?
Mhm.
Okay, good. Sorry, I'll make it bigger. So when you have, so that's a lot of math. Like I don't math very well. So I was very, I tried doing this different ways, and what they wanted to see in the results was like, show me of all the shelving collections that we have currently, what's checked out. Like of my collection at a branch, how many are checked out currently? What's of those, what's overdue, what's lost, how many missing, and how many claims returned. and then give me the total number that are in the checkouts overdue. And so what it is this current checkout is 487. And then I have a separate column for items that are overdue, and then another column that are long lost overdue. So these are the 587, and then the claims return. So I just thought this was a really great report. Our collection development team requested something like this, and I had gotten some of it. That's usually where I am with SQL. I get so far, and then I can't figure out how to make it either all total or so here is, and I'm happy to share this with anybody who wants it. So basically it's just using a whole bunch of math, and it's calculating everything off the item lost column. And then it's just breaking them by dates into different columns. So I just thought it was a really cool report. Sarah worked on that for me at Bywater.
That is cool. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing. See, now I want those report results saved like every week over the course of a year, so that you can track trends across each like shelving location over time. But that's a whole other thing.
It'd be nice to have a column that tells you how many items you have total in that location too, like so you can see percentages or something.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It'd be an easy add too.
Yeah.
Been running into the, sometimes I'll think I need a report for something, and then I realize it's something that can be done in item search. But that, I mean, that doesn't, the one that we just saw was definitely really cool and does more. Like I paused as a, could you do that in an item search? I'm like, well, not compiled like that, so that's pretty cool.
It's been really nice. I have a lot of libraries that they're not real skilled at doing reports, and they'll ask me for one, and I have been able to say, okay, here's how you use item search to find that. It's a lot better.
I saw Rebecca shared a bug on the new shareable item link search results feature, that it's doing something weird. But once that bug is resolved, I do look forward to item search results being easily linked to. That'll be nice.
The one addition I would like to see to item search. Hello, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
Hey, George.
We have the ability to configure columns in a lot of tables. The one thing that I would like to see added to the configure columns is to reorder the columns, to put them in a specific sequence. And the item search could do with that, because we classify things by home library, shelving location, item type, and collection code. And here in the item search, you get collection code, and then barcode, item number, call number, home library, current library, shelving location, item type. So they're all kind of not in the right order for what we do when we search the shelves. Yeah, and there is a bug for that.
Yeah, item search seems like that's going to be so like task specific too. Like when I'm doing this thing, I want them in this order, and when I'm doing this other task, I want to see other things. So yeah, that would be really nice.
Yeah, it would be good on all the columns, any column that you can configure. To be nice to change the order of the columns.
One of the things that I like about the item search that they've changed recently is where you can select multiple libraries or things in that box. And I want to have that go into like some of the administration rules, like when I'm limiting libraries for item types, if I could select the libraries rather than having to make sure I push control and click on the ones I want and not forget to do that would be really cool.
And that seems like it shouldn't be that difficult a thing.
Right. I just don't even know how to explain that in a bug, but I'll think about it.
I want to use the multi-select like we use over there, over here instead.
Yeah.
Seems fairly clear.
I'll have to search and make sure it's not already in there.
Anything else keeping y'all up nights? Or bringing you comfort in these trying times, alternately? Like, is your koha your one shining light? The only thing that works in your life? I'm so sorry. You all seem very content this month. So I'm not inclined to make you all stay here and look at me. So this is the long, slow process of moving toward ending the meeting, giving someone a chance to find their unmute button.
Sorry, I just put another bug in the chat about batch extending holds or tool to batch modify holds. It seems like it's a fairly new bug, and it looks like it's under testing, but it was something that we just had to do last night because we're expecting snow here today. So I was batch pushing expiration dates for checked out items, which is great, very handy tool, but we need something for the hold shelf so that we can just batch extend hold shelf expiration dates. Because right now we're telling staff to do calculations like, oh, well, add 2 days or add 3 days or add, oh, thank you. Oh yeah. And I don't know, I really need this tool. It would make life so much easier.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow that too. The use case I can think of is art holds expire after a year. And every once in a while, there's a big hot book that publication date gets kicked out another 18 months. And you're like, oh no, but there are holds on it. So this would be really cool for that. Hopefully, if it functions that way. Thanks,
Yeah.
Rebecca.
Lucas was working on this morning, trying to pick up this old code and make it do what we need it to do. This bug was on a list of things that Bywater identified internally as if we could give partners the tools to do these things, it would clear up a lot of ticket stuff for us. So yeah, that is absolutely something we're working on actively and would love to put into your hands. So I'm glad you're excited because I'm excited too.
I will do a happy dance when this comes around. I will video it for you because I'm so excited about this. Because it's just, there are some things that you're like, if we just had a few extra ways to do this, it would make life so much easier, especially for when, you know, we have unexpected issues like, you know, fires, floods, earthquakes, tornadoes, snow.
Yeah, it's a clear like companion piece to the batch extend due dates. Yeah, well, you've committed yourself to a happy dance now that you shouldn't have said that on a recording.
Oh, that's okay.
Tell people.
Just out of curiosity, when you are extending the batch extending due dates, why is there no select all button? I mean, yes, you have to click and hold, but that box is not very big. Okay, I'll put in a bug.
Yeah, because nobody put one there, I think is the answer.
Subject of batch things, I'd like to be able to get rid of bills that aren't likely to be paid. I've been using the write-off PL script, but it didn't run last month. I don't know why. I've got a ticket open saying, hey, what happened to my script? So I'd like to be able to just select a batch of bills that are like 7 years old and say, you know what, write them all off. And or someone messes up a book drop and just be able to clear out the bills. And there's really no way to do that. I can find them, but I can't do anything with them.
Trying to remember if that can be done by a cron job.
There is a script for it. There is a cron job
Yeah.
for it. But I can't set that up.
Yeah.
I have to do a ticket. That's, you know, I want to be able to just deal with these things sometimes, and I can't touch that stuff.
Yeah.
That's one of those things.
I don't think I've seen a bug for like a batch write-off of fines. I feel like that would make people nervous. Oh, but there is one. Jason
Scares
found
the
it.
hell out of me.
Yeah, doesn't it? But like, you know, anything can have permissions on it.
It was something I was able to do in Cersei Dynex Symphony. And I was like, what do you mean I can't get rid of these bills? Just like, whoops, someone screwed up the book drop again. Let me just clean that up.
Yeah,
And
fair.
and there were actually a couple. I could either delete them entirely as if they had never happened, or I could waive them, write them off, whatever term you want to use for that. So I had
Yeah.
a couple of options for dealing with bills that shouldn't have happened, or that just most likely like 7 years old. No one's going to pay that fine. Just get rid of it. So
I just pasted some jQuery in the chat. It makes the little tiny box in extend due dates bigger.
Oh,
Thank you, George.
Because I hate that too. There's only like 3 lines, and yeah, it's too small. Sometimes I think Koha is designed by people that don't need glasses, that aren't over 50.
And only have one branch. One branch, 3 locations. That's it. Adult, kids, teens. The end.
I have a feeling that bug that Jason posted is actually the result of me going, hey, because Enica's the one who cleared out the oldest of them for us before we started writing it on a regular basis.
yeah, sometimes the timing makes those things clear. Like, oh,
Again, and oh, Enica did that one. I think that's a result of that. Yeah.
I do have a question for the senior members of the group that know more about Koha than I do. Where can you see permission changes to an account?
I don't think that's logged. Or at least it didn't used to be.
And
yeah, I
why
don't think
not?
it is yet.
That's a good question.
I feel like
'Cause
there's a bug out there asking for that. Yeah.
There totally is. And I think the only reason they're not logged is that they're stored really weirdly.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, the permissions it's bafflingly complex, the way that the permissions are stored. There's 2 separate tables in the database, and one of them is based on exponents. The way that they're calculated has very complicated math working with it. So it is really complicated.
And that's like oh, Juliet beat me. But yeah, there's the bug for we really do need to log permission changes. And I know there is another bug for like overhauling how permissions are defined. And I think that's one of those big messy projects that no one is eager to jump on and various things are stuck behind.
Yeah, that's I don't know the bug number for that, but that's been brought up several times in the last 12 or 13 years.
Actually, the one Juliet linked to is marked as depends on the failed QA bug for revamping permissions generally.
Yeah, that bug starts off with Koha's current user permission system is a bit convoluted. And that's like putting it mildly. It's really convoluted. It relies on 2 separate tables. One of them makes sense, the other one doesn't. And the one that makes sense is not the most important of the 2. So
this sort of statement always feels a little strange coming from me as an employee of a company that changes the code in Koha. But if you all want to see this code changed, a good first step would be commenting on that bug that this is still like meaningful and important to you. That is step one of demonstrating to all the people who write code that something is a needed change. But see, then I feel weird, like I'm saying, we're not going to do it unless you act like you really want it. If I knew how to write this code, I would do it right now. And then mess it up, and someone would need to fix it.
I also thought I had filed a bug, or Andrew, maybe you did it, about logging or retaining certain things in an action log, such as like patron creation. Like the date it was, we were having a problem with an account and we couldn't figure out when the account was created and who created it. And that was the problem. They had created it incorrectly. And we wanted to go back and talk to the staff member, but it had been over the time the action logs had run out.
Sure.
And so I think I can't find it though. I think we had filed some sort of like bug that said, you know, make action log fields or certain action log fields retainable or permanently retainable. Because I feel like, you know, certain things that you would want to keep forever, such like, you know, creation date or creation by someone or something like that. Maybe not the actual like place to hold, checked out a book, checked in something, but
Yeah.
you know, like certain actions in the action log. But I can't find the bug. But I thought that would be really useful, along with having, you know, permissions. So if we change them or if you add them or take them out of like a patron template list, we had some problems with our cataloging staff where we were moving them around. It was like we moved them from one patron template to another patron template for permissions. And so it would be good to know, especially if you have more than one person doing modifications to accounts, it would be good to know to say like, oh, so-and-so did this a month ago. That's why this permission is changed, or just on the troubleshooting side of things. Right now, I just put notes in the account.
I know you can make action log retention differ by module. So you can keep the borrower's log longer than you keep the acquisitions log or whatever. I don't know. I don't think you can get as granular as action to say like I specifically want to keep borrower creation indefinitely, but purge everything else. Well, I can see how that'd be useful and probably not a difficult change to the cron job that deletes those things.
So what NEKLS does to take care of there are some libraries that want to know how many people registered here. And so we have a borrower extended attribute called registration library. And then we use some jQuery to automatically fill that in when a new patron is created. And then more jQuery to make it so that people can't go in there and edit that field. So it's created when the account is created, and then it's not editable in the future. But it wouldn't be that hard to write additional jQuery that says it was registered at this library, and then stick in something that says this is the username that's in the upper right-hand corner, to stick that in there too, and a date and time so that you could know that this account was created at this library on this date and time by this login.
Yeah,
So.
I was just gonna say I did a bad thing with patron attributes that does just that. So I added a last editor ID field and a last, I think it's just the ID field because that's all they asked for. But like it logs anytime, it logs the creator of the account and the editor of the account, their usernames, when you hit save, which is similar to how cataloging handled it too, because there's a field for last editor, or creator last editor. I don't know where that jQuery is at, but I can share it if I dig it up.
Thanks, Jason. That would be helpful. But where is it recording this? In the field or in the circ notes or?
Yeah, I have a patient I can show you. Maybe. I get the right screen. Number 3 today changes every time. So on this page, and it just has the last editor, which is me. And it's just in a patron attribute down here. So I've added them as extended patron attributes, and then this one doesn't have the creator ID because the jQuery wasn't in effect when the patron account already existed before the jQuery was put into effect. So there's no creator ID logged. But if I was logged in as somebody else, it would change the last editor ID to whoever changed it last.
So what would
that's-
it say if your patron was created online through like we use Aspen, we have an Aspen patron.
Probably nothing, because this is just logging from the patron form, just the staff side patron.
Okay.
So like it's pulling the thing from the upper right corner when you edit this patron specifically on this specific page.
But
It's very low tech.
I could definitely see the like built-in hard-coded version of this where it becomes like a checkbox option as you create an attribute, like check a box to say, put the last editor borrower number in here. Or, branch of creation. And at that point, it'd be like baked into the save process, and it could work for patrons created via self-reg, stuff like that. And that could take care of the like locking the box out, because I imagine at this point, like theoretically, someone could get in and edit that thing, even though you have jQuery to not let them do so. Because library employees are they're so excited about tampering with data.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, George. I was also wondering if you change the barcode, like if you could set it up to change, like anytime the barcode is changed, it would log the old barcode and put in who changed it. Because that's also a question we get, because our online self-registration is like a 999 barcode. And then anytime that would switch to a 2100, which is a physical barcode, that could be logged or recorded. Because sometimes we do have questions about patrons that place overdrive holds on their 999 card, and then they switch to a 2100 card, a permanent card. So they have to ask overdrive to switch them.
Yeah.
The patron modification log, I think it does log when your barcode when the library card number changes.
It does, but it's only 180 days for
Right,
us
6
at
months.
least.
Okay, yeah, same for us too.
I was thinking more of like a permanent record of that. I don't know if that would be a data problem or not.
I'm wrong. You can specify action log retention by both module and action. So you could keep some of those logs longer, but that would, like, you could tell it to keep all patron modifications for 3 years, but it wouldn't be smart enough to keep only patron modifications where the card number was changed from a 999 value to something else. That'd be a whole other thing. It would be harder, like, I don't see how you would kind of jQuery fix that locally. Seems like a high awareness of exactly what you've changed when you edit the patron.
Well, I mean, even Jason and George's solutions would be useful in the meantime.
Yeah.
So here's a paste in with that code, and then you can see in the code what the attribute codes are that are required. So creator and editor are the like extended attribute codes that it's leveraging. And yeah, it's set to read only, so like it should only be updating when you hit that save button. I think that's all of it, but I'm not actually sure. I do a thing and then I do 3 other things and I completely forgot how I did the first thing, and my brain can't handle it all.
Thank you. I will put that on our test server.
So yeah, the only thing that's missing there is like, you'll have to make those extended patron attributes. And then it does the rest, or it should, in theory. If it doesn't, you can like hit me up in Slack or whatever. I had a random unrelated bug. Um, so we have almost 500 lists in our system because, and they're public lists specifically because patrons don't understand. So they make lists and then they make them public, and then you just got this big mess in the OPAC. And I think that part of the problem is they don't realize that they have public lists, because after you've made your list public, it moves from the your list tab to the public list tab. And I think your list should imply that it's all of your lists and not just your public lists. And there's a column that even has a place to put public versus private. So I put in a bug encouraging that change so that patrons can see that they have more than just their private list when they log in and look at them.
Not
And
to like, why do you let them make public lists on the OPAC?
there's not like a good way to turn it off, is there? I mean,
yeah,
it's one
there's a system
toggle for the
preference.
whole system.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's one toggle for the whole system. That's true. If you want some of your users for some of your libraries to make public lists and other people not, then you're stuck.
But isn't it like it's one preference for staff and patrons? So the
Yeah,
preference is virtual shelves. So if my staff want to make lists, which they do like to make lists for
well,
advertising things,
but they can still make them in the staff client.
What I find is that staff like to make lists like Thursday story time, and then they have a list of all the things they've used at an event in a list and make that public. And if they want to be able to do that, then anybody has to have the ability to create whatever kind of wacky, useless, insane list they want.
But not via the OPAC. Your staff could make
No.
that story time list in the staff interface.
So is this pref misleading? Because the syspref says allow staff and patrons to create and view lists of bibliographic records, yes or no. So if I turn it off and say no, my staff can still make lists in the staff client?
Yes, it's allow OPAC users to create public lists, which is a weird way to do that or to define it, but it's, yeah, can you make a list via the OPAC, yes or no? If you turn that off, you can still make a list via the staff client.
I think this is a preference that's changed over time.
It may well have.
All right. Well, I'll think about that. It's too late now. The ship has sailed.
We solved our list problem by going to Aspen Discovery, where we don't have this problem anymore. Yeah. That's the whole reason we switched to Aspen Discovery, was because we didn't want 800 lists anymore. No, that's not the only reason.
That system preference. That's part of the problem.
Oh, yeah. Right. There's I think the virtual shelf system preference is, can you use the things at all? And then there's the OPAC one, which really probably should be called OPAC virtual shelves to match to keep the system preferences together.
I'm just gonna turn that off right now. See what happens. Thanks.
I've always wondered about like what the teeny tiny library is where they think it's okay for all of their patrons to make public lists. Because it's hard to imagine where that doesn't get immediately out of hand.
To be fair, half of my problem is a single staff member that isn't even around. So like 250 of those lists are one single staff member.
Yeah, that tracks. Okay, folks, you have a minute. What do you need to know in 1 minute? Your confidence buoys me. I'm glad you're also happy with your kohas. Okay, well, it is 11 o'clock. We have talked about things for an hour. No one is jumping up and down with new things. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
See you next month.